The call came on a Thursday evening. I was in my apartment, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, the one I'd bought outright 2 years ago, reviewing contracts for a deal that would double my company's valuation. My phone rang with an unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Hello? Brianna? The voice was older, shakier than I remembered, but I recognized it immediately. Brianna, please don't hang up. Vanessa, my stepmother. The woman who'd made my childhood a living hell and then thrown me out like garbage the moment I was legally an adult. I didn't hang up. I should have, but I didn't. What do you want? It's your father. He's sick. Really sick. Her voice cracked. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 3. The doctors say there's a treatment, an experimental program in Houston, but insurance won't cover it, and we can't afford. How did you get this number? I found it online. Your company website. Brianna, please. I know we have history, but this is your father's life. He could die. I stood at my window, looking at the city lights, feeling nothing. And what exactly do you want from me? The treatment costs $200,000. We've tried everything. Loans, fundraising, selling the house. We can't come up with that kind of money. But you? She trailed off. I saw an article about you. Your company. They said you're worth millions now. I see. So you kicked me out with nothing. And now you want me to write you a check. I know how it sounds. I know I have no right to ask. But Keith is dying, Brianna. Whatever happened between us, he's still your father. I thought about my father. The man who'd married Vanessa 3 years after my mother died. The man who'd watched his new wife treat me like an unwanted houseguest and never once intervened. The man who'd stood in the doorway of my childhood bedroom and told me I needed to leave because Dylan needed the space. Let me think about it, I said. I'll call you back. I hung up before she could respond. Then I sat down on my couch and let myself remember. I was 10 years old when my mother died. Ovarian cancer. Caught too late. She was gone within 6 months of the diagnosis, and I spent most of that time watching her disappear. By the end, she was so thin I could see her bones through her skin. My father fell apart. He'd loved my mother completely, the way some people only love once in their lives. After she died, he walked through the house like a ghost, barely eating, barely speaking, barely acknowledging that I existed. I understood. I was grieving too, but I was also 12 years old and desperately needed a parent, and he wasn't there. Vanessa appeared 2 years later. She was a secretary at his office, recently divorced with 2 kids of her own. Dylan, 14, and Amber, 11. She was pretty in a sharp way, all angles and calculation. I didn't like her from the first moment I saw her. My father married her anyway. The transformation was immediate. Suddenly, our house had new furniture, new rules, new priorities. Dylan got the basement converted into a bedroom suite. Amber got redecorating funds that turned the guest room into a pink princess palace. I got nothing except the clear message that I was tolerated, not wanted. Your room is fine the way it is, Vanessa told me when I asked about new curtains. We can't spend money on everything. But they spent money on Dylan's gaming setup, on Amber's dance lessons, on family vacations where I was mysteriously left behind because someone needs to watch the house. I told my father. I begged him to see what was happening. But Vanessa had already gotten to him, painting me as jealous and difficult. He chose to believe her because believing me would have meant admitting he'd made a mistake. Just try to get along, he said every time I complained. Vanessa is doing her best. You need to meet her halfway. I tried. For years, I tried. I swallowed the insults, the exclusion, the 1,000 small cruelties that Vanessa specialized in. I told myself that my father loved me, that he just couldn't see what was happening, that eventually the truth would come out. The truth came out when I was 18. I'd been accepted to college, a state school. Nothing fancy, but I'd worked hard for it. I was planning to move into the dorms in August, start fresh, finally escape the house that had become my prison. Then Vanessa sat me down in June. We need to talk about your living situation. What about it? I'm leaving for school in 2 months. That's what I wanted to discuss. Dylan is transferring to community college, and he needs a proper space to study. We've decided to give him your room. My room? Where am I supposed to sleep? Well, that's the thing. Vanessa smiled. That cold, triumphant smile I'd seen 1,000 times. We think it's time for you to find your own place. You're an adult now. It's time to be independent. I'm going to college. I have a dorm assignment. College is expensive. Have you really thought about whether it's the right choice? Maybe you should get a job, save some money, figure out what you really want. I know what I want. I want to get an education and get away from here. Vanessa's smile didn't waver. That's fine. But you'll need to do it without our support. Your father and I have discussed it, and we've decided that our resources need to go toward the children who are actually part of this family. The words hit me like a physical blow. I am part of this family. I'm his daughter. You're his daughter from his first marriage. That's different. She stood up. You have until the end of the month to find somewhere else to live. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I went to my father that night. Found him in his study, the same room where he'd retreated after my mother died. Dad, Vanessa says I have to move out. She says you agreed. He didn't look up from his computer. It's time for you to be independent, Brianna. You're 18. Most kids your age are excited to leave home. I was leaving for college. That's different from being kicked out. No one's kicking you out. We're just making a transition. Dylan needs more space, and you were leaving anyway. I need help with school, Dad. Tuition, books, living expenses. I can't do this alone. Finally, he looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes wasn't love or regret or even guilt. It was exhaustion. The same exhaustion I'd seen when my mother was dying, when he couldn't handle the weight of caring for someone who needed him. I'm sorry, Brianna. Our finances are stretched thin. We can't afford to support 2 households. But you can afford Dylan's new room, Amber's dance competitions, the vacation you're taking next month. Those are family expenses. I'm family. You're an adult now. It's time to act like one. I moved out 3 weeks later. I had $400 in savings, a suitcase of clothes, and absolutely no idea how I was going to survive. The first year was the hardest. I couch surfed with friends until they got tired of me. I worked 2 jobs, waitressing during the day, stocking shelves at night, to pay for a room in a house with 4 other people. I deferred my college enrollment because I couldn't afford tuition and couldn't figure out the financial aid system without anyone to help me. I ate ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. I wore clothes from Goodwill. I counted every penny and still came up short more months than not, but I survived. And slowly, painfully, I started to build. I got my GED upgraded to actual college credits through a community college program. I studied business because it seemed practical, because I'd learned the hard way that money was the only thing that kept you safe. I worked my way through school 1 class at a time, graduating 6 years after I should have. Then I got a job at a startup. Then I got promoted. Then I started my own company with Camille, my roommate from those early couch surfing days, who'd become my best friend and eventual business partner. We built a software platform for small businesses, accounting, inventory, customer management, all in one package. It wasn't glamorous, but it filled a need. Within 3 years, we had 10,000 paying customers. Within 5, we had 100,000. The acquisition offers started coming in year 6. We said no to most of them. But last year, we said yes to the right one, a deal that valued our company at $42 million and left Camille and me as majority shareholders of a much larger operation. I was 26 years old and worth more than my father would make in 10 lifetimes. I thought about calling him, about showing up at his door and letting him see what I'd become, about rubbing his face in the success he'd tried to deny me. But I didn't, because by then, I'd realized something important. I didn't need his approval anymore. I didn't need anything from him. The best revenge wasn't showing off. It was moving on. So I moved on, built my life, my career, my circle of people who actually cared about me. I dated, traveled, bought my apartment, started a foundation for kids aging out of foster care. I created a life that had nothing to do with Keith Ellison or his toxic wife. And then Vanessa called. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my expensive bed in my expensive apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about my father dying in some hospital while his wife begged his abandoned daughter for money. Part of me wanted to say no, wanted to let them feel what I'd felt, the desperation, the helplessness, The knowledge that no one was coming to save you. They'd thrown me away like garbage. Why should I save them? But another part of me, the part that still remembered being 10 years old, holding my mother's hand while she died, couldn't quite let go. He was still my father. Whatever he'd done, whatever he'd failed to do, he was still the man who'd taught me to ride a bike, the man who'd read me bedtime stories before my mother got sick, the man who'd been a good parent once, before grief broke something inside him. Did that matter? Did those early memories count for anything against the years of neglect that followed? I didn't know. I still don't. I called Camille the next morning. My father is dying. His wife wants me to pay for his treatment. Camille was quiet for a moment. She knew my history. All of it. She'd been there for the worst years, had watched me claw my way out of nothing. What are you thinking? I don't know. Part of me wants to tell them to go to hell. Part of me feels guilty for even considering it. Guilty for considering saying no? Or guilty for considering saying yes? Both. Neither. I don't know. I rubbed my eyes. He's my father, Camille. He was terrible to me. But he's still my father. If I let him die when I could have saved him, you didn't do this to him. The cancer did this. His choices did this. His wife's choices did this. You're not responsible for saving someone who never saved you. I know, but I have to live with whatever I decide, and I'm not sure I can live with letting him die. Then don't. Pay for the treatment. But do it for you, not for them. Do it so you can look at yourself in the mirror and know you're not the kind of person who lets someone die out of spite, even if they deserve it, especially then. The point isn't what they deserve. The point is who you want to be. I thought about it all day. Went to work, sat in meetings, reviewed reports, all while my mind churned through the impossible calculus of family and betrayal and forgiveness. That evening, I called Vanessa back. I'll pay for the treatment. I heard her sharp intake of breath. You will? Oh, Brianna, thank you. Thank you so much. I knew you'd come through. Family is family, after all. Stop. My voice was cold enough to freeze the line. I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing this because we're family. I'm doing this because I don't want to be the kind of person who lets someone die when I could have helped. I understand. Whatever the reason, we're so grateful. I'm not finished. I'll pay for the treatment directly. I'm not giving you a check. I'll set up an arrangement with the hospital in Houston. Every bill goes to me. You don't see a dime. That's fine. Whatever works. And I want to be clear about something. This doesn't change anything between us. I'm not coming to visit. I'm not reconciling with my father. I'm not pretending that what you did to me was okay. I'm paying a medical bill. That's all. Brianna, I know things were difficult, but maybe this could be a chance to... There is no chance. There is no reconciliation. You threw me out of my home when I was 18 years old. You told me I wasn't part of the family. You stood by while my father abandoned me. And now you want me to pay $200,000 to save his life, which I'm going to do. And you're still trying to spin it into some kind of reunion story. I was just hoping. Hope for whatever you want. But don't expect me to play along. I took a breath. I'll have my lawyer contact the hospital tomorrow. The treatment will be covered. But this is the last time we speak. What about Keith? Don't you want to talk to him? No. He's your father. He's dying. Don't you think... I think he had 18 years to be my father and he chose not to. I think he watched you abuse me and did nothing. I think he told me I wasn't family and kicked me out to make room for your son. I think about that every single day. And I've decided that paying for his treatment is enough. He doesn't get my forgiveness, too. I hung up. The treatment started a month later. I got updates from the hospital. Clinical, impersonal reports about my father's progress. The experimental therapy was working better than expected. His tumor was shrinking. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. I read each update and felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything. So tangled together that it registered as nothing. Camille checked in regularly. Made sure I was eating, sleeping, not spiraling into the dark place where I'd lived during those first terrible years. You did the right thing, she said one evening. For what it's worth. Did I? Sometimes I think I should have let him figure it out himself. Let Vanessa sell the house, drain their savings, feel what I felt when I had nothing. But you didn't. And that says something about who you are. It says I'm a sucker. It says you're better than them. which honestly isn't hard. But still, I laughed despite myself. Thanks, I think. You're going to get through this. You've gotten through worse. She was right. I had gotten through worse. I'd gotten through my mother dying, my father disappearing, being kicked out with nothing. I'd built a life from scratch, created success that nobody had given me, become someone I was proud of. Paying for my father's treatment didn't change any of that. It was just one more thing to survive. 6 months after the treatment started, I got a letter, not from the hospital, from my father, handwritten, sent to my office address, which he must have found the same way Vanessa found my phone number. I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Brianna, I'm writing this from the recovery wing in Houston. The doctors say I'm going to live. They say the treatment worked better than anyone expected, and I might have years left instead of months. I know I don't deserve those years. I know I don't deserve anything from you, least of all the money that paid for my treatment. Vanessa told me what you said on the phone, that you weren't doing it for me, that you didn't want to reconcile, that paying the bills was all you were willing to give. I understand. I don't agree, but I understand. I've had a lot of time to think these past months. Lying in a hospital bed, not knowing if you're going to live or die, has a way of clarifying things. And what's become clear to me is that I failed you. Not just once, not just when Vanessa asked you to leave. I failed you every day for years. And I told myself it was fine because you seemed okay, because you didn't make trouble, because it was easier to believe Vanessa than to see what was happening. I was a coward. I was broken after your mother died. And I let that brokenness excuse everything. I let Vanessa take over because I didn't have the strength to fight her. I let you suffer because protecting you meant confronting my own failures. There's nothing I can say that will make that okay. No apology that will undo the damage. You built your life without me, and from what I can see, you built something incredible. You didn't need me. Maybe you never did. But I needed you. I needed you, and I was too weak to admit it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for a relationship. I'm just telling you what I should have told you years ago. I'm sorry. I was wrong, and you deserved better than the father I was. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. If you don't, I understand. Thank you for saving my life. I'll try to be worthy of it. Dad. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in my desk drawer and went back to work. I didn't reply. Not that day, not that week, not that month. The letter sat in my drawer, waiting for something I wasn't ready to give, but I thought about it. On quiet evenings, in the moments before sleep, I thought about my father in a hospital bed, facing his own death, finally seeing clearly what he'd refused to see for 15 years. Was it enough? Could words on paper undo years of abandonment? I didn't know. I still don't. What I know is this. I paid for his treatment because I didn't want to be the kind of person who let someone die out of spite. I didn't respond to his letter because I'm not ready to be the kind of person who forgives that easily. Both of those things can be true at the same time. A year after the letter, I went to see him. Not because I'd forgiven him, not because I wanted a relationship. I went because Camille pointed out that I was still carrying him around, still thinking about that letter, still wondering what I'd say if I ever saw him again. Go find out, she said. Either it closes the door or it opens one, but at least you'll know. He was living in a small apartment now. Vanessa had left him during the treatment. Apparently, nursing a sick husband was more than she'd signed up for. Dylan and Amber had sided with their mother. Keith Ellison was alone. He opened the door and stared at me like I was a ghost. Brianna. Dad. We stood there for a long moment. 2 strangers who shared blood and history and not much else. Come in, he finally said. Please. His apartment was sparse. A couch, a television, a few books, the remnants of a life that had collapsed while he was busy dying. Thank you for coming, he said. I didn't think you would. Neither did I. Do you want coffee? Water? I don't have much, but I'm fine. I sat on the edge of his couch, keeping distance between us. I read your letter. 100 times probably. I didn't know what to say. You didn't have to say anything. I wrote it for me as much as for you. I needed to put it into words. Did it help? A little. Not as much as seeing you right now. I looked at my father. He was thinner than I remembered, his hair grayer, his face lined with illness and regret. He looked old in a way that had nothing to do with age. "I don't forgive you," I said. "I want to be clear about that. What you did, what you let happen, I don't know if I can ever forgive that. I know, but I don't want to hate you anymore. Hating you takes energy I'd rather spend on other things." He nodded slowly. "That's fair. I'm not going to be your daughter again. Not the way I was when I was little, before everything went wrong. That girl is gone. You killed her. I know." His voice cracked. "But maybe we can be something else. I don't know what. Acquaintances, maybe. People who share history and occasionally acknowledge each other's existence. I'd like that. Whatever you're willing to give. I'm not willing to give much, but I'm willing to try." We talked for an hour. Not about the past. Neither of us was ready for that. Just about the present. His health, his recovery, his new life as a divorced man in a small apartment. My company, my friends, my plans for the future. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't forgiveness. It was just two people sitting in a room, trying to figure out if there was anything worth salvaging. When I left, he hugged me. I let him, even though it felt strange. "Thank you," he whispered. "For coming. For everything. Don't thank me yet. I might not come back. I know, but if you do, I'll be here." I walked out of his apartment and into the evening air. The city was alive around me. Traffic, people, the endless hum of a world that kept moving regardless of personal drama. I thought about my mother, about what she'd want if she could see us now. She'd loved my father once. She'd loved me too. Maybe she'd want us to find our way back to each other, or maybe she'd understand why I couldn't. I didn't know. I probably never would, but I'd shown up. I'd looked him in the eye. I'd said what I needed to say, and now I could move on. Not toward him, necessarily, but forward, into whatever came next. Camille was waiting at my apartment when I got back. How did it go? I don't know. Weird. Sad. He's pathetic now, living alone in a tiny apartment, abandoned by everyone. Does that make you feel better or worse? Both. Neither. I poured myself a glass of wine. I thought seeing him broken would be satisfying, but it just felt empty, like I'd spent years being angry at someone who barely existed anymore. So what now? Now I keep living my life. The life I built without him. Maybe I visit occasionally. Maybe I don't. But I stop letting him take up space in my head. That sounds healthy. It feels healthy. Or at least healthier than holding on to all that rage. Camille raised her glass. To moving forward. To moving forward. We drank. Outside my window, the city sparkled with lights. Inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace, or something close to it. My father is still alive. We talk occasionally. Birthdays, holidays, the awkward rhythms of a relationship rebuilt from ruins. He's not the father I needed when I was young. He never will be, but he's trying. And some days, that's enough. Vanessa remarried last year, found another man to manipulate. Another family to poison. I heard about it through the grapevine and felt nothing. She's someone else's problem now. Dylan and Amber are out there somewhere, living their lives. I don't think about them much. They were children when all of this happened. Products of their mother, not architects of my suffering. And me? I'm still building, still growing, still becoming someone my mother would have been proud of, even if my father couldn't see it until he was facing his own death. The money I spent on his treatment was nothing compared to what I've made since. The time I spent hating him was worth more than both. I chose to save his life because I wanted to be able to live with myself. I chose to visit him because I wanted to stop carrying the weight of my anger. I chose to try, even when I had every reason not to. Those choices were mine, not his, not Vanessa's, not anyone else's. And that's what matters in the end. Not what they did to me. What I did with it. I took nothing and built everything. I took betrayal and built boundaries. I took abandonment and built a family of my own choosing. Vanessa said I'd never be part of their family. She was right. I built something better instead.